everybody? Welcome to Top of the Hops. I am your host, Mike Riker, and joining me for the second time today, which I'm so excited for, it's my friend Ken Reedy. He's the regional supervisor of curriculum and workforce development at YAI. We'll talk a little bit about that again. Ken, welcome to the show, buddy.
I am so psyched to be here tonight. I'm so excited to get into this. This is a subject matter that I'm really pumped about. Actually, wait, I can. Woo, there
Oh,
we
very
go.
nice.
Okay,
Nice. Yeah, that's
doesn't
cool.
fit in
Good
the
for you.
frame, but I'm in the mode. I'm ready to go. So let's do this.
Awesome. Obviously, it's called Top of the Hops. I see you drinking a little something. What we got there, Ken? What are we
So
drinking?
I'm not. I've gotten away from beer, but I know. But we're having a cocktail, so I
Yeah.
have the bottle here. So this is called Silverback, small batch. They just have really good stuff. It's a small distillery out in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. And I just like their stuff. And to be honest with you, I don't have a sensitive enough palate. So when people say, "Oh, there's a little bit of hint of this and this," I just know, oh, I like it.
Yeah.
I drink
Okay.
it. It tastes good. Um, but I highly recommend it if you happen to be in the Stroudsburg area. Go visit Silverback Distillery. The people that work there are amazing. They're such cool people, and the bourbon's great. But they make amazing drinks there. If you go to the
Mm,
distillery, they have the best old fashioned I've ever had.
okay.
And they'll smoke some of the drinks. They'll smoke them, and they have a huge wheel of, I'm assuming it's oak, and a blowtorch,
Wow.
and they just like the blowtorch into the wood, and once it starts smoldering, they put the glass upside down on the wood. They mix the drink in a mixer, and then they turn the glass over fast and put the drink
Oh,
in.
that's
And
cool.
so it's really neat. It again, as we're talking about Prince and going to see him in concert, and that was an experience. Going to Silverback, it's not just like going to a bar. It's an experience going there.
Nice.
And like I said, the people are wonderful there. They're so nice to be around. And yeah, we try to go down there at least a few times a year. I mean, Stroudsburg's such a cool town, but
It
we
is.
go
Yeah.
there, we enjoy that, and then we hit Silverback. If we go for a weekend, we'll probably go like twice even. That's how much we like it. So
That's great. How would you compare that bourbon to the one you had on the previous show, Bullet?
they're both good. Again, not having a sensitive palate, but I Silverback's my favorite.
Okay.
And I kind of saved that for special occasions. And I was like, why don't I bring it out? This is a special occasion. So
Nice.
um, yeah, I busted out. So yeah, just open the bottle, and like we try to save it, but it's like for this, I'll have a little Silverback.
Cool. Cool. So what I'm drinking today, so I've had this brewery on my show a couple times. I just love what they do. They do great artwork. I couldn't find anything purplish, unfortunately, for this show, but
I'm saying the
uh,
same thing.
yeah, but it's not Prince and the Revolution, but it is called Dynamite Evolution.
Okay.
So they did some great artwork there, as you can see. This is a double IPA. They're KCBC, they're in Brooklyn. They actually have an artist on site there. They do a lot. He does comic books and stuff. So he does a lot of the great artwork there. And what I like about this beer specifically is that a portion of the proceeds goes to Pink Boots Society, and Pink Boots Society helps women. Uh, they assist women with who are involved in beer. So any kind of people who own beer companies or beer distributors or breweries, they actually help and educate a lot of the women that want to get into the beer into the beer business. So that's what I like about this. And I support women in beer because uh, my distributor who had on my show, Sadaf, she owns her own distributor. It's the best distributor out there. She's a Pakistani woman who does just some great stuff there. And there's some other great breweries who are woman owned. Talia out in Brooklyn is owned by two women. There's a one that's going to be opening up soon that's also owned by a Pakistani woman, and she's doing great stuff. So I support women in beer. So I'll be pouring that a little bit, and I love
Well,
my
cheers to that.
IPAs.
Just to let you know that Silverback is also female owned.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
One of
Incredible.
the few. I don't know if she's the only one, but she's one of the few whiskey distilleries that are owned by a female.
And they do some great stuff, man. Like the one we went out to, me and my wife Nicole went out last year to Leah. It was the weekend of the Barbie premiere, and they did their flights were all pink beers. So they had like a pink peppercorn one, and they had
Nice.
like kind of a rosé one, and it was like it was kind of cool the way they did that. But yeah, I just love what they do. So this is to you, Ken. Thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Thank you. Cheers.
Yeah, they always hit it right, man. That's like if you like IPAs, that's tropical, it's hazy, it's dank, and it's getting a lot of peach and a little bit of grapefruit, and it's really good. So
Nice.
definitely check them out. KCBC Dynamite Evolution is the beer. So all right, let's get into it. I told you before in the pre-show meeting, you're gonna have to kind of
Mhm.
steer the ship a little bit. So I hope you don't don't get too mad with my top five. I'm sure you have an eclectic top five. So we'll
Now,
start
as
with
we
you.
talked about in the top five, and that's the thing with Prince. We did the show again in a year. I might have a totally
Yeah.
different top five. It was really tough for me to whittle down five. I kept going back and forth with a lot. Well, first, before I get into like my top five, there are a couple things I had to say. Well, one thing that I always appreciate with Prince is, and as we talk about things, he never liked the word fan because it was short for fanatic.
Mm,
And in this interview, he said that his songs are kind of like his kids. And people who are fans are friends. They're friends of his children. And I always loved that idea because they, over the years, being a fan, um, the music helped me through a lot of times. And
sure.
they were like my friends. So, when maybe you didn't have a friend to turn to, there was definitely a Prince song or Prince music that I could turn to. And I think I want that to come through when we're talking about his music and what it means to a lot of people. I want to start with some of the stuff that didn't make the list, which is tough for me, but I had to hit
No,
on some things.
I
Um,
have a number six on here, so we can definitely get into it. So
there's a few things. I mean, For You didn't make the list. His first album, which I think is an incredible album, and when you listen to the first song on the album, For You, and the voices and the harmonies and how that starts off, you have to put in your head that he was a teenager and he did all those voices. So it might be the greatest debut song on a debut album in the history of music when you listen to
mhm,
that. Tough for me to not put that on the list, but that didn't make the list. Graffiti Bridge didn't make the list, and
great
I just
one.
wanted to mention that because that was the first album that when he sang Still Would Stand All Time, that I was like, wow, this guy's got a voice on him. And
Yeah.
I don't think I appreciated his voice up until that single moment. And that was the first time that his message to me started taking hold that,
Mm,
you know, love will rule us all.
yes.
And that was, and as much as people might pan that movie, he was trying to tell us something and he was trying to send a message. So that album didn't make my top five. But there are a lot of times in my life, even now, that sometimes I just, with the world, I'm like, put on Still Would Stand All Time. You need a reset. And I just go back to that song. 1999 didn't make my list, and I got a honorable mention there. Some great pop tunes. And when you go back and listen to the discography, you can really can tell like he's about to blow up.
Yeah.
It's not quite there yet, but he is on the precipice. And you can listen to those first few albums and it's like 1999 to Purple Rain just makes sense. It makes sense that like that's when he blows up is when Purple Rain comes out.
Right.
Still a great album, didn't make my list. But going back to the whole thing with being friends and emotions and being tied to certain songs, the albums Come and Love Sexy didn't make my list either.
Mm,
But I wanted to mention songs like Solo and Anesthesia. Um, man, if you're feeling lonely, I don't know if there are any two songs ever that can kind of, all right, well, he's felt this too. And maybe it's not so bad because someone else has felt this and got through it. So, like the lyric in Solo, like Solo, the curb seems like a skyscraper. Like the poetry in that just, yeah, I get like that's how you feel when you feel like the world is so overwhelming that even the smallest step just seems so insurmountable.
mm.
So low, the curb seems like a skyscraper. Thank you. You
Yeah.
know,
Right. Yeah. He said
um,
perfectly. Yep.
Yeah, and so throughout his whole career, they're just lyrics and stuff that just kind of hit you like that. But I needed to mention that stuff
Oh, of
just because it
course.
didn't make my list. But I'll get into it now because I don't want to go too long. But my five is Welcome to America.
Okay.
His newer album, released post his passing, and I just made five because it got me excited again to be a Prince fan. And his passing really hurt me. It's one of the
Yeah.
two or three celebrity deaths that just devastated me. And people who know, like people checked on me because they knew how big a fan
Yeah.
I
I know
was.
how
Like
you
I
feel
had
when
people,
Elvis passed when I was a
yeah,
kid. Oh my
yeah,
God.
people were like calling me and texting
Yeah.
me, and um,
It-
but there's so much in that album that it was put together in 2010. He decided not to release it because he's Prince and he just does whatever he wants to do at all
right.
times. But so he did like the only artist I could do like a Welcome to America tour without the album Welcome to America. But that's what he did. He did a tour, and I actually saw him on that tour. Um, but there was no album to support it. But then it
Mm,
comes out a couple years ago, and it's as timely as anything could be now. It just seemed like it should be out today,
yes.
but somehow he was able to hit upon the emotions and politicking of the day almost a decade earlier.
Hmm.
It boggled my mind now. Like, how did he do this? And that came my top five because I listened to that over and over and over again. Went out and bought it on vinyl. Um,
Wow.
just couldn't get enough of the album. I thought it was such a well done album, and scary how timely it was for now, even though it was made in 2010. And one of the funny stories of an album is the song Yes. And at the end of the song, the backup singers hold like a note. It's like, yeah, and forever. They hold this note like forever. I can't even give it in musical terms, but it's like, oh, they're still singing. And apparently, in the rehearsals, the female singers, like they looked at the music and they were trying to figure out where to breathe and who could breathe where, so there's continuity, but they were taking their breaths. And Prince came in and said, y'all got to hold the note.
Mm.
And they said, that's impossible. You can't hold a note for that long. And Prince took a deep breath, busted into his falsetto, and held the note. And they were like, okay, I guess we're holding the note.
Right.
So, and there's so many stories that you hear about that, like Prince just pushing other artists and musicians just to be better than they think they can be. And there's something special about someone who sees the greatness in someone else and is willing to be that person to draw it out. And
Right.
they decided, okay, I guess we have to hold the note. And they
Yeah.
did. And it's incredible to
Incredible.
hear that song and you hear the story, and that's because Prince pushed them. But that's my top, that's my number five.
That's awesome. Yeah, I don't have it in my top five, but I do remember the album. Like I said, you're going to steer the ship a little bit, but so correct me if I'm wrong. I do have some notes on some other albums too as well. But that album I remember being a real, I want to say like a message album almost on, like especially on like a racism and exploitation and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
I really, that to me was one of those albums like he's trying to. It seemed like he was trying to send a message to everybody, with regards to that. I think there was the 21st century is still about greed and fame. That's what that album kind of reminded me of a little bit. So yeah, that's a great album. Like I said, what didn't make my top five? I don't remember too much about the album, but I do remember that being kind of like to me it was like kind of like a message album for him. With
Yeah.
regards
And
to
even like the song Stand Up and Be Strong, where he goes out
yes,
and
there you
he
go.
covers a Soul Asylum song, and just again another song that if you're feeling down on yourself, and there's just he takes the Soul Asylum song, and he I don't no disrespect to Soul Asylum, but to me like makes it better,
Right, yeah,
makes
yeah,
it
absolutely.
um takes a little known song and makes it into an anthem.
Yep.
And there's such beauty in that. And again, there's so many songs where, and I think it's what makes Prince great is, you know, if you're happy and need a song to celebrate, there's a Prince song.
Yes.
If you're
Yeah.
feeling lonely, there's a Prince song.
There's a song for every emotion
There's a
with
song for
Prince.
everything. Like you
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
something, like you find the Prince song. And if
Right.
you know, if you're ready to get it on with your
Yo,
significant
well, there's
other,
plenty of those.
there's a few Prince songs.
I feel
So,
like there's one. I feel like there's one or two on every album with those. So.
can you know, I should give my little secret. So in college, this is a funny story. We'll get back to the albums, but I came up with like a kind of a plan or a formula to increase the likelihood of people getting their groove on a little bit. And it worked. And I remember at one point someone came up to me and said, Ken, like everybody hooks up at your parties. Like, why is that? And so, you really want to know? And he's like, you have a plan? Like, I do. And the music structure of my parties were always start off with just whatever. People are getting there. Don't worry about the music so much when people are arriving. Play
Right.
something upbeat, but don't worry so much. After that, you play really like I would go with 80s stuff, or like Bon Jovi, put stuff, rock and stuff, and stuff that people could sing along to because people
Sure.
love singing along to shit when you get people in groups, sing along in groups, and they're drinking. Everyone's
Yeah.
drinking and singing along, having a good time. They're having a good time. They're forgetting how much they're drinking. After that, you hit them with the Prince. Play some Prince tunes, some slower Prince tunes. All of a sudden, people start coupling off. And then I would end it with the Doors. And people would hook up when the Doors started playing.
Interesting.
That
Okay.
was, and it actually, it worked.
Where were you 30 years ago in my life, Ken?
I
I
should,
should go to your
I
party.
should copyright that plan.
Yeah. That's tremendous. That's a tremendous story. That's amazing. So my number five is Diamonds and Pearls. I love the stuff he does with New Power Generation. Obviously, Cream, I love. Get Off is tremendous. Um, I just remember him doing Get Off at I think it was 91 MTV Video Music
Mhm.
Awards. And just like, holy shit, like unbelievable.
Yeah.
Didn't he have
Yes,
the assless?
assless.
Yeah, the assless.
Yeah.
Yeah, tremendous. I love that. You know, the money that don't matter tonight, which I think it's got a little what's going on to it about it. You know, like
Yeah.
Marvin Gaye, which I like. Um, I do have notes here, guys. So if you see me veer off, because I want to make sure I got this right. So but yeah, I just love it. The title track is gorgeous too. I just love, and obviously again getting back to not no offense, those two girls were pretty beautiful. I would just say that. And
Diamond and Pearl.
yeah. I mean, yeah, those two girls, especially in Cream, was just as a 20-year-old boy, I'm like, holy shit, like oh my god. But yeah, I mean, I love everything about it. The Willing and Able is a really cool jazzy number. I thought Insatiable is tremendous,
Yeah.
classic
Yeah.
Prince ballad. I love this. I was surprised how much I liked this one because obviously I knew the three songs, Diamonds and Pearls and Cream and Get Off. But like I said, a couple of the other songs I just put out there, they were great. So to me, that's my number five. I love Diamonds and Pearls. I think it's underrated a little bit.
It is a little, and it didn't make my top five, but it is, and again, if I did this next year, maybe it would make my top five.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I remember when that came out, again, it was one of those things that made me realize that whenever he decides he wants to make a commercially pop album or a pop hit, he can just decide to do it
yes,
and make artistry out of it. You know, there's a pop sensibility to that album, but there's still Prince songs and there's still great songs. And
right,
when you talk about Get Off, it's funny because the one thing with him and his sexuality and what he would portray in music is that there was also a positivity to it, and there was
hmm
never I never found it to be crass, and I always felt that it was sexuality is just part of the human condition, and
sure,
there shouldn't be a morality attached to it, and that's what I always appreciated with it. It wasn't there was never a degradation of women in his music. There was just you can be sexy, I can be sexy, let's be
sure,
sexy together, and then that was kind of his vibe. There was definitely a positivity to the
He,
sexuality, and
yeah, a lot of it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but to me, it almost felt like he was a submissive one in a lot of those songs.
yeah, in some ways,
You
I
know?
mean,
Yeah.
either submissive or equal, but there was
Right,
never a
exactly.
look at his track record, how many women he gave opportunities to,
Sure.
um, reviving Sheena Easton's career. The band he was touring with towards the end was an all-female band.
Right.
He did a lot. He did albums for Mavis Staples. He wrote for Bonnie Raitt. I mean, he gave the Bangles their big break with
Sure.
Manic
Sinead
Monday.
O'Connor,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, he loved women.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right. I mean, there could be there's a little bit of a submissive, but if it's not submissive, it's definitely equals.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
was never him over. A funny story about the assless pants, because it was a long time coming. So if you look back on Prince's career early, like I guess probably the Dirty Mind Prince era, where there's a lot of pictures of him in underwear, and he
Yep.
would perform in underwear. And apparently early on, before he really broke it, he went out on, well, he was about to go out on stage in, I think it was a pair of jeans that he cut the ass cheeks out.
Yeah.
And he was about to go out on stage, and the owner of the club said something to the effect of, "You can't go out wearing those. You can't. You have to wear underwear." He's like, "Why?" "You have to put underwear on." He's like, "But I want to wear these." Like, you have to wear underwear. So Prince decided, all right, took the pants off, put the underwear on, and went out in just the underwear.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Yeah, I just remember that performance, watching that live, because back
Yes.
then you used to watch the MTV
Mm.
Video Music Awards live. It was kind of like must-watch TV because not because of the awards, but because of the performances. Back then, they were legendary, and he put one that version of Get Off. I just absolutely love, and I love that performance of him.
And
So
that band, I had such a crush on Rosie.
yeah,
I loved Rosie. So I mean, and
yeah,
when she busts in with "Let a woman be a woman, let a man be a man," it's just,
yeah.
oh God. And she's up there on the keys, and there are guys, muscle guys dancing around her, and they're women, and oh God, yeah, it's just something out of Caligula on that stage. And
Tremendous.
but there was such artistry in it. That's the thing with him that is so lacking in music today, that
Mm,
there is a sexuality in certain music and certain songs, but I don't see a lot of artistry. Like the fact that, and you could say what you want about it, but the fact that all those dances were painted gold, and it was something out of, like I said, Caligula, but it was something. It was a performance. It
yeah,
wasn't just
it
a,
was a work of
hey,
art.
let's shock people. Yeah, it was art.
Yeah.
And I think that's missing in music, and especially if anyone makes videos, but the visual medium too is
Yeah.
just, I mean, what performer would do something like that today?
Yeah, yeah, it's tough in these days what he did back then to do today too. Because he didn't, maybe he didn't cross the line, but he definitely was he
Oh
was
yeah.
on it. So yeah, so tremendous. So all right, number four we have.
Four for me is the Symbol album.
Okay.
Okay. I it's an underrated album to me. Uh, Similar to what you were saying, I love the NPG, and
Two.
I don't do this with Prince fans. I will never get in a debate as to what was the best band that Prince worked with. You can say things about every band. People romanticize the Revolution because it was the beginnings. His Sign of the Times band was great with Sheila E. and but I will say this: I think, in not knowing him, but in seeing everything, I think he had the most fun with NPG.
Yeah,
When
it
you
seemed like
watch
that.
the
Good
videos and
point.
stuff, they just look, him and the three dancers, the three male dancers, rappers. They just look like they're having a blast, and they were all local musicians. They were all from the Minneapolis area, and it just looked like they were always having fun.
Mm,
And I remember when they got on Arsenio Hall, and Prince wasn't doing talk shows at the time, and Arsenio tried to book him, and it was, all right, I'll come on the show only if I'm the only guest, and I'm only going to perform, and I'm not going to do interviews. And Arsenio said, all right. And that was the episode. I
right.
think that was for Diamonds and Pearls. And I just remember watching them thinking, these guys are just they're having so much fun up there. And the Symbol album for me, I mean, songs like My Name is
Okay.
Prince, Sexy MFer,
Yep.
Sexy MF. You know, there's such great, unique songs, and again, it's that whole like, yeah, Sexy MF is, you know, it's a sexy motherfucker, but there's like the guitar in it, and it's so jazzy, and it, you know, it's not just a crass, you know, hey, I'm dropping the F bomb here. It's just a neat song,
Hmm.
and you know, Blue Light. There's just a lot of. It's a very eclectic album. But what I really love about it, and this is, and I've never actually talked with other Prince fans about this, but my own interpretation is when you listen to it, and the first song being "My Name Is Prince." Um, to me, by the end of the album, he is no longer Prince. That is where he changes his name. To me,
Yes.
it's in that album that it's, and the moments in that album with Kirstie Alley as the reporter trying to get to the bottom of things.
Mhm.
And the song Three Chains of Gold
Oh,
is just it's ridiculous how good that song
I
is.
know.
And
We gotta get the top five songs and to have like a. I'll tell you right now that it's one of them. That's
yeah, isn't
tremendous.
that, I mean, that's what,
Oh
like, you turn
God.
that song all the way up and
Yep.
just, it's an opera almost unto itself.
I was just gonna say that. Yep.
The guitar and the percussion, and knowing that he did all of it.
Yeah.
But to me, that's a song where his name changes. He becomes the symbol in that
Mm.
moment. Um, but yeah, that's one of those songs. Again, I'll probably keep saying this, but as a kid, finding your way through music and being a little older when this album comes out, is just, oh wait, you could do that with music. You know,
Mhm.
like Three Chains of Gold just was like, oh, and you'll do your
Yeah.
falsetto, but you come back into your regular voice, and you're doing this and the guitar and the percussion and different tempos, and just when you think the song is over, it's not over, and it's just so good.
It is. Yeah.
And it's one of those albums that I've, not like in a scientific way, but since it's been out, I revisit that album a lot, and look for like more clues into like the transition from Prince to the symbol. But um, to me, it's just a phenomenal album, and it's not an album that's talked about enough.
Mm.
It's generally, most places it's not. It doesn't make top fives, but for me, that's number four.
Yeah, it's not my top five, but I do have notes here, and I wrote down this was Prince's. And again, correct me if I'm wrong. This was Prince's "Who's Tommy?" Like it was his rock opera.
Yeah, yeah, no,
You
yeah.
know, so I that's the way I took it. I thought, like you said, like you said, my name is Prince, all the way down to like to the end of the song. It was like it felt like a story. The
Yeah.
entire album felt like a whole story. So that's why I wrote, rock opera. This was Prince's Tommy. Um, and
It's
very
very much like a rock opera, because they
yeah
released on VHS like the videos in succession, and they tell a story through the videos. Um, but yeah, it's very much a rock opera,
yeah
and it's
that's
just phenomenal. And I kind of forgot Seven. It's only know Seven is such an incredible song.
oh
So
yeah, it's just,
even
I love
you know, kind of an out there album, you know, a concept album, still is able to put together a sensible pop tune that can chart.
yeah that I love that song Seven. Yeah, that's a great song. My number four was one that just missed your list, and that's 1999. Those first three songs right away. I mean, when you start off with 1999, Little Red Corvette, and Delirious is just holy shit. Like you're in for a ride. So I love all three of those songs. Um, it's got plenty of funk. It's got a little bit of mystery to the album. Um, I mean, I, Little Red Corvette might be one of my favorite songs he ever did. It's just so sexy. It's just so sublime in his own way. I also like isn't Automatic on that album too as well. I love the way he does the AUTOMA. I love that. I just feel like that was that was his obviously his breakthrough album to me. Um, this the stuff that he does with the guitar too in that album is just unbelievable. Um, I just love the album. The International Lover is another great song, which I like. But those first three songs just get me right away. It's just like, holy, this might be the top three songs I've ever heard on an album. Like it's just, okay, you're in for a ride here. I just love 1999.
Yeah, I mean, you're right though. I mean, there's not all albums that I could think. And honestly, if I started going through Prince albums, I mean, it's a strong first three. It's a
Yeah.
really strong first three
Yeah.
that you put that album on and it's like, oh, this is where we're going.
Yes, yeah, right. And it's got that the other one I like too is which is about Lady Cab Driver, right? Is on
Mhm.
that album. I like that one too, which though but yeah, those songs are kind of like lost in the way, but those three just stand out so much. It's like, holy shit, like this guy's a star, you know,
Yeah.
it's incredible. So
And,
all
the way
right.
and the way they go together too, because like 1999
Yes.
ends with like a cymbal crash, and then it's right into the subtlety of the beginning of Little Red Corvette. Then Little
Right.
Red Corvette ends, and then there's like doo.
Yeah.
It's just they blend together so well. And I have to check, but I'm pretty sure those are the top three hits he had from the album, and he
Right.
just hits you with that pop sensibility right in your face, like as soon as the album starts.
And that's what I love about Prince. Like you know, a lot of, you know, when I was younger, you would hear only kind of like the condensed version of some of these songs. And so when you get into the album and you hear the extended version of, you know, Let's Go Crazy or, you know, some of these songs on this album, you're like, holy shit, like why is this
Yeah.
on the radio, man? This is incredible stuff. Like instrumental on some of these songs are
Yes.
incredible.
And yeah, all the extended stuff and that's always great about seeing him live because you never knew how he
Yeah.
always did the songs differently.
Right,
Like
right.
you could see him two nights in a row and you'd see the same songs but done completely different. It might be in a
Interesting.
different order.
Wow.
He just would change things up. But yeah, like with Little Red Corvette, the extended version
Yeah.
and when they kind of when you think the song's going to end where it ended on the radio mix, then you have the girl, you got an ass like I never seen. It's like, what did he just say?
Yeah, what's going on here? Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's like such great. It's just he's just fun. Like there's songs where he's like making a statement, and there's songs where you can tell he's just having a little fun there. And it's
Yeah,
like, girl, you have an ass like I've never seen, and it's like
right.
that's awesome.
All right, number three, what we have, Kev?
Number three, well, it's interesting because I'm going one album before you,
Okay.
controversy, and I've always looked at. It's interesting you just said 1999. I've always kind of looked at that almost as like a trilogy with him in the context of his whole career. That I feel like controversy, there's such a logical progression from controversy in 1999 to Purple Rain.
Yes.
And he, if not exactly the same, his look stayed fairly similar through those three albums. And
Mm,
you could tell with that era of Prince that he was really finding his stride. Not to say that, I mean, For You, Dirty Mind, and Prince, great albums, but when you listen to, if you listen to his discography from For You through Purple Rain, you can tell that he's kind of trying to find himself. A lot of great songs early on, but trying to find his voice. To me, Controversy is where, all right, this is who I think I am.
mm.
1999 kind of solidifies, like, no, like this is who I am. And Purple Rain is like, motherfuckers, this is who I am.
Yeah,
And
right.
that's like where um so there's this progression, but Controversy that is a it's close to me because it was the first album as I was becoming a fan that I decided I need to go back and listen to. So
Mm,
I knew of 1999, I knew that the hits, so I kind of knew that album, became a big fan with Purple Rain, and then there was Around the World in a Day, and I was listening to all this stuff, but then I'm like, I gotta go back and listen to some of his early stuff. And
mm.
Controversy was the first one I went back and listened to, and the songs just kind of blew me away. I
Yeah.
just like the funk in, Controversy is such a great song, and stuff again with the extended version where at the end and he firstly he does the Our Father in that
Right,
song.
right.
It's like, okay, we're doing this now, and then hey, wish we all were nude. I wish there was no black and white. I wish there were no rule. People say I'm rude. It's like, okay, like, but
Right.
it just, all that stuff and, sexuality and jack you off. It was just kind of, but like playful. And then the song Ronnie Talked to Russia
Mm,
was just kind of this, I can't call it, it was like a playful anthem where
right.
he was keenly aware of what was going on in the world in the Cold War, but it's kind of a silly song at the same time. Like it's making a statement, but it's an up-tempo song, so it doesn't bog you down with the message, which is a lot of what I loved about Prince and seeing him live, that you could be if you're a fan of Prince just because you thought you could tap your feet to it, you could be that sort of fan. If you liked lyrical content, you could be that fan. You know,
Hmm.
there was, if you liked harmonies, cool, you could be that. Like, you didn't have to be one specific kind, like a fan of a specific type of music to be a Prince fan. He hit all those things. And a lot of his political messages, like, he didn't beat you over the head with it. He still gave you a good beat.
Right,
So
right.
if you didn't want to get into politics, cool, you could listen to Ronnie talk to Russia and still dance to it.
Yeah.
And I remember at that age when I listened to it, and I think I was in high school when I went back and gave it a listen, and Annie Christian just was one of the first songs I remember ever in my life that really prompted me to think about the world and a certain level of spirituality and what's going on with good and evil, because the song was essentially telling us that the Antichrist is here now. And that kind of, you know, I've heard songs about evil in the world and good in the, but like there was never a song that I heard that said, nah, he's here.
Yeah.
He's here. And I remember and having that song on cassette because it's before the CD, and listening to Annie Christian, rewinding it, listening to it again, and trying to like get in my head like what was the message he was trying to convey. Um, but still a fun song. Like, yeah, it's so weird how like there's these deep messages, but in packaged in these kind of cool tunes. And so
Right.
Controversy was, and you know, aptly named album. I mean, when you think about
Mm.
Ronnie Talk to Russia, the Antichrist is here right now, doing the Our Father. I mean, jack you off. Yeah, that's controversial.
Yeah, no doubt.
So yeah, so Controversy comes in at 3 for me. Because I just remember really it doing a number on me in a good way.
And Dirty Mind came out before that, right?
Yes,
Right
yes.
before that. Yes. Yeah. I wrote my notes here. I felt like Dirty Mind was about his body, and I felt like this one is about his mind. Like I just felt like, all right,
I have to go
this.
back and listen to them like
Yeah,
back to back just
I
to
just
kind of
felt
get
like, yeah, I just felt like, obviously Dirty Mind was a very sexual album, really out there. But this one was like, all right, now you got that part of me. Now this they can know what's in my brain.
yeah.
And I also love too, I also wrote down too, a lot more synthesizers in this album than the previous, which I felt like he was getting into that pop range a little bit more with this album a little bit more. Obviously Controversy, it's funny, Controversy, the song itself, I don't remember hearing until after I heard 1999 and Little Red Corvette, and all of a sudden they started playing Controversy. From what I remember, I'm like, oh, that's Prince. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is good. So yeah, I Controversy is a good album. I just felt like he kind of veered off a little bit, where I felt like his first couple albums were really raw, and this one was going to be a little bit more polished, and
Yeah.
you could see like things are about to change here a little bit.
Yeah, like I said, it's almost like those first 3 albums are kind of his really finding himself and finding
Yeah,
his voice. And Controversy is the first album to me that he's all right. I have a clear direction at least.
right, right. So, all right, my number three is Parade. Yeah, I absolutely listen. The movie itself, unfortunately, didn't hit with me. The Under the Cherry Moon, not a great movie. Not wasn't Purple Rain, but the soundtrack is incredible. And we mentioned this in the pre-show. I mean, those 9 minutes on those 4 tracks where he laid down drums for the entire sequence in one take. I mean, just incredible. Obviously, the big song Kiss. But I love, Girls and Boys. The steel drum funk of New Position, I love.
Mm.
I love Another Lover, A Hole in Your Head. I think that's a tremendous song. Mountains is probably my favorite song off the album. I think that's a beautiful tune.
It's funny you say that
Um,
because Mountains is one of those songs that, you know, as much as you're a fan of anything, um, you know, you're swayed by media, you're swayed by the hits. You're swayed, so that album came out, it
sure.
was all about Kiss, and Kiss was everywhere, and obviously I loved Kiss. As an adult, when I've gone back, I've I really appreciate Mountains. It's
Yeah.
one of those songs that as I've gotten older, I'm like, oh, it's just like, and it's so funky and you can
It
dance to it, and
is.
its falsetto is just brilliant in that
And the
song.
extended version of that song
Yeah.
is incredible. Like I think it goes like 7, 8 minutes. It's unbelievable. I also love. I think it's a beautiful song. Sometimes it snows in April.
Mm.
Just a tremendous song. Yeah. Even the instrumental Venus de Milo, I just love. So
Well, who
to
can
me,
do that?
I
And that's
like
the thing we're talking about. Like, who can do that? Who
right,
can go and
right.
give us a song like Girls and Boys on the
Yeah,
same album, give us Venus de Milo.
yeah.
That's the thing with him. And you hit on Sometimes It Snows in April, and there was again those things where you remember as a kid and trying to understand music and understand metaphors. And that was like one of those first songs where I'm just like I'm listening to it and I'm just Sometimes It Snows in April. Like sometimes people die too young. And
Mm.
that's what he's trying to tell us. Like so and I remember thinking like once that dawned on me, and it might seem obvious, but when you're a kid and you're listening, I mean, at that point that album was out like 86,
Yeah, yeah. 86. Yep. That's
86-ish.
when
So
the
I'm,
Cherry movie.
I'm
Yep.
a freshman in high school, kind of finding myself, and that song is out and realizing what the message was and just thinking, God, that's a brilliant sentiment. And sadly, like he passed away in April, which
Right. Oh,
kills
yeah.
me. Um, but I remember that song, I put like some of the lyrics from that song. The dear friend passed away from COVID, and we did a memorial service and put some of the lyrics. She was a big Prince fan, so I put some of the lyrics of
Wow.
the song in the program. But just it didn't make my top five, but it is a great album. Like I said, if we did this list a year from now, it might be on my
Yeah.
top five. But recently I actually got this on vinyl.
Mm.
And with the percussion when the album starts off with, and on vinyl, it's so good.
Yeah, and what's funny is like my top three are actual CDs I had of Prince's. Um, but this one was funny. I saw the movie first, didn't like it, wasn't a fan of it. I'm like, I'm not gonna get the CD. I'm not gonna get the album, even though I did like the music in the movie. I just, I'm not gonna get it. And then, of course, people don't not gonna remember this, but I'm sure you do. The 12 cassettes for a penny. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
yeah. So so I ordered this one, and I gotta be honest with you, I listened to this nonstop because I just loved and I loved Kiss, don't get me wrong, but it was the other songs that really grabbed me.
Well,
And
the
I'm like,
album grabs you. The
yeah,
Christopher Tracy's Parade's the first track, and
right,
it
right. So
just it grabs you. Or the percussion right
yeah,
away is like, oh, like you may have bought the album for Kiss, but you're staying for the other tracks.
yeah. So if you're not sure, just Google Columbia House and see. And just remember the 12 CDs for a penny. Just tremendous. And this is one of the cassettes I got. I played. It. I'm like, wow. I go. The movie was not great, but boy, that soundtrack's incredible.
I
So
mean, when's the last time you watched the movie?
probably the one time I saw it in '86.
You should watch it again, because honestly, I watched it again recently. I watched it about a month ago,
Okay.
and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than when I watched it years ago,
I'm
because
gonna have to go back.
I didn't expect. It's funny with movies and stuff in general. And I think we talked about the pre-show. Like Prince is one of those rare artists that he's better than you remember.
Right,
Um, I'm scared sometimes to watch movies that I was a big fan of growing up, because I go back and watch them. They're not nearly as good as I thought they were.
right, yeah.
I caution everyone in Gen X, don't watch The Outsiders again. It's not good.
No,
If,
it's a
if
good
if
movie.
if you loved it as a kid, yeah, I watched it again. I was disappointed. But thinking that Under the Cherry Moon was a bad movie, um, I thought, hey, what the hell? Why don't I go back and just watch it from the beginning? And I actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I just think the
With like very
expectation
low expectations. I was like,
that's what
it's
it
silly. The acting's not great, but it was kind of fun.
I think the expectation after Purple Rain, which was a very good movie,
Yes.
following that up, it was such hype, I remember back then, and then it was a disappointment, but I will say the soundtrack, not a disappointment.
No.
Incredible. So, all right, we're getting close here, Ken. Number 2.
Number two. And this is tough, but Purple Rain. Purple Rain comes in at number two for me. Um, yeah, I mean, what can you say, man? Purple
Yeah.
Rain. I mean, it's Purple Rain. The track listing, I mean, it's one of the most perfect albums as far as the order of songs. Um, I said earlier, Let's Go Crazy came out, and just, what did you just do. Like guitarists can do that. You know, with no disrespect to other guitarists of the day. I mean, you know, Eddie was great and listening to Van Halen and stuff, but man, that guitar solo at the end of Let's Go Crazy, um, man. And you know, one of the things over the years that I've grown to appreciate more was the guitar solo at the end of Purple Rain. That
Yeah.
guitar solo is ridiculous. And the thing that's always for me that set Prince apart from other guitar players was how much he could convey an emotion with the guitar solo. And it's the only time in my life I mean, I've gotten teary-eyed in different concerts for different reasons, but it snuck up on me the first time I saw him live, and he went into the guitar solo at the end of Purple Rain, and all of a sudden the tears just started like coming down, and
See that?
I was like, what's happening to me? But um it's so great. It's just so great. And you know, when you see him do that song live, it's insane.
Yeah.
And you know, the coupled that with the movie, and again, and it's interesting because the movie, the performance scenes in the movie are what make it great. I mean, the acting's not great in Purple Rain either. I mean, the acting's not great in any of Prince's movies, but
Sure.
you know, you enjoy them for different reasons. Um, but the end of that movie when you know his father tried to kill himself and nothing is working, and again that whole idea we've talked about a few times where Prince has got something for every emotion, and who hasn't been in a situation where they think nothing is whatever I do is wrong. You know, I'm trying to
Yeah.
do this and I feel like I'm doing something good, but every time I turn around, I'm just getting fucked every single place. And he does Purple Rain almost defiantly, like or in a I'm giving up. Fine, whatever. I'm gonna do this song. Um, and when he storms off stage out into the back and he's pacing out in the alley and he stops and hears the applause and realizes, oh, like I did it. And the I'm forgetting her name, but the woman who's the waitress comes out and she's got the tears coming down. It's just
Right.
it's such a great scene. It's such a great performance, and it's such a great metaphor for life that sometimes, you know, when you think everything is going wrong, you know, put yourself out there, and you just never know. And that to me is the message that that song and that album, that movie gives you. And then he goes back in and blows the doors off with "I Would Die for You" and "Baby I'm a Star," and it's
Yeah.
just and "Baby I'm a Star" is one of my favorite. I mean, that's just as far as like Prince, like fun, good time
Hmm.
songs, like because I love the playful arrogance of that song that yeah, I am a star. You
Yeah.
might not think it right now, but you're wrong because I am a star. And you know, that's one of those tunes that if I need a confidence booster, you know, when he says the lyric, you might say nothing comes too easy, but when you got it, babe, nothing comes too hard. Like, yeah, that's some balls out. Like,
It
yeah, that's
is.
right. That's right.
Yeah. It's
Um,
tremendous. Yeah.
so it's just great. And that's the album that hooked me. That was the
Yeah.
album that when it's wild when you think about I'm 52 years old and as a kid trying to find his way in everything, but especially trying to figure out what music I like or what I want to be a part of. 1984, and this little song "When Doves Cry" comes on the radio, and who the hell knew that, you know, in 2024 I'd be on this thing called YouTube doing this thing called a podcast and still talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's and that'll always have a special place for me. It's tough. Number one, number two, like that was tough for me, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I
it's a
think
great album.
we'll have the same 1, 2. I think it'll be reversed though. I'll have more to say about this this album in a couple of minutes, but I will say this: you can argue that this might be the greatest soundtrack of all time. Like you can argue that. Like of all the soundtracks, I mean, this one, like you said, and you said it perfectly, Ken, was that the order of the songs on this album is so perfect. Like going from like when you hear "Let's Go Crazy" from that first song, you're like, "Holy shit!" Like, and then into "Computer Blue" and all that stuff, and
The second song is "Take Me With You."
"Take Me With You." I'm sorry, "Take Me With You." Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
you're right though, because it's like Let's Go Crazy Bombastic guitars, like
Right.
bam, then it's
And then yeah, and then it's yeah, Take Me With You is a kind of an eerie song a
yeah.
little bit. So yeah, I love it. I love the way they goes from, you know, uh I wanna die for you. Was it I wanna
I Would Die for You
yeah, I
into
would die for you,
Baby
baby.
I'm
I'm
a
a
Star.
star. Like that, it was like one song, and like it's two different songs, but it's like almost like a medley almost.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, I'll have more to say about that album. I'm sure my number two will probably be your number one, which is my number two is, of course, a Sign of the Times. Um, it was a tough one for me. I will say that. It's just Purple Rain has a special place in my heart because I just remember it. I remember that album coming out and getting it first day,
Mm.
just because I loved When Doves Cry. Sign of Times was I got it, I wanna say around '87 when that album came out, but it wasn't a must-have for me, but when I did hear it, I'm like, I didn't appreciate Sign of Times until later in life, and the genius of it, and this is me to where he is absolutely incredible. This album blows my mind, Ken. Obviously, You Got the Look is the big hit here. Um, it just sounds edgy, got Sheena Easton on it, but I love, Take the Place of Your Man. It's got, like, that bouncy dance pop. He's got that, he goes into the Camille stuff,
Mm.
which is pretty intense and crazy. Was it If I Was Your Girlfriend, right? With the Camille stuff. I mean, just
Mm.
you're like, holy, how does he get his voice to do that? Like, what the
And
hell? Like, it's just unbelievable.
it's such a weird sentiment, like that song, but it's again, you're listening to that stuff in your impressionable years, and if I was your girlfriend, you'd tell me. If I was
Right.
your girlfriend, it's such a like, where did that take come from?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just incredible. Slow Love is gorgeous and erotic. Um, I Could Never Take the Place of Your Man. Another one which I love. It's just the gentleman telling a girl he knows a one night stand isn't the right move for her with is just the perfect hook. That awesome midsection guitar too in that song is
Yes.
incredible. I can go on and on. I mean, Adore. Um, I'm sorry, it's yeah, Adore might be considered one of, it's one of the best slow jams I've ever heard is Adore. I love that song. You can go on and on with this album. There's so much good in this album. Um, it's I saw the documentary too, and it just made me appreciate Prince even more, what he did with this song, with this album. Um, and like I said, I think You Got the Look is probably, and Sign of the Times is the two biggest hits, I would say, from the album.
Probably, yeah.
But my God, many consider this to be his best album. It's not on the level of When Doves Cry or like Kiss but my God, the other songs, the music in this is just it goes from rock to pop. It's all over the place, and it's incredible. It's a great album. I'll let you get into it because I know it's your number one.
Yeah, it's my number one. So let's keep the conversation going. Yeah, Scientine's my number one because that
Yeah.
was the again, and I know I keep going back to the this idea of being younger and finding your way as far as musical tastes, but a little bit older now, a little past Purple Rain, listened to a few albums, and this was the album for me that I truly recognize that this guy's a genius.
Yeah. Yeah.
That this is more than just, oh, these are some good songs. Like, this guy's a genius, and um I'm a fan for life now.
Yeah.
And all the stuff you said, but even little things like, Sign of the Times, first song ever to have any reference to AIDS.
Good
And you
point.
don't, people think of that now as like, oh, it's, AIDS and it's not an epidemic. But at that time, it was the gay cancer.
Yeah.
There was a lot of controversy surrounding it. There was a lot of, Reagan never actually saying AIDS. The original name of the disease, GRID, gay-related immune deficiency. There was a lot of prejudice and bigotry surrounding AIDS, and no one really wanted to acknowledge what was going on. It was this thing that was happening, but let's kind of sweep it under the rug. And Sign of the Times was the first song ever to reference. And Gay Man died of a big disease with a little name.
Hmm.
His first time. But then, Kyle, you're saying you have silent and the track, and he's been so brilliant with that. And over the years, and he has said this in interviews, like albums matter.
Yeah.
And it's sad what music has gone to now because all his albums, you can talk about how the tracks are listed. And there's such you can tell that he took the time to list them in a certain way. In fact, another album that didn't make my list, but I love the album. I love all the album, but Love Sexy, he
Mm.
purposely on CD released it on one track. So you can't skip to songs. Like you have to listen to it. And I mean, you could fast forward, but it didn't
Right.
there's only one track on the
Oh,
CD
wow.
of Love Sexy because he wanted you to listen to it as an album. So he always took that idea of like making albums seriously. And you have Sign of the Times that is such a grim statement on our society. And then Play in the Sunshine. And like, oh, okay, now we're here. And
Yeah.
then Playing in the Sunshine ends and it's shut up already. Damn. And it's like we're in Housequake. Like, what is he doing? Where are we going? And that's just it. It's like we're on a ride now.
Yeah.
You got strapped in the roller coaster. Enjoy the ride. And everything you said about the album, but also, you want to propose to anyone who's never listened to the album, you want a song to propose to your lady to Forever in My Life. It
Hmm.
doesn't get, and it's such a simple
Yep.
song, but oh my God, it is like the best statement. It's not frilly, it's not over the top. It's just there comes a time in every man's life when he gets tired of fooling around.
Yeah.
That's the opening line. It's like, I want you forever in my life. And the way he does it live in the movie on Sign of the Times, um, things. And what I do for a living, those who don't know, I work with people with disabilities. Starfish and Coffee is about an actual person who had autism.
Yeah.
Right? A woman he was dating at the time knew of this girl, Cynthia Rose, who was kind of weird. And at the time didn't know like autism wasn't a thing and it wasn't being readily diagnosed. But she had autism and had all these idiosyncratic behaviors. And one day they just got to talking, and Prince said, I need you to tell me everything about Cynthia. And just started telling stories and all this stuff. And I think it was she would actually say starfish and poopy. And he's like, that's not gonna make for a good lyric.
No.
Um, but apparently he got all these stories about Cynthia Rose and went upstairs and came down in a couple hours with Starfish and Coffee.
Wow.
And it's so cool. And that's the thing with Prince for me as a fan, and we've said it probably a few times, like going and revisiting.
Yeah.
And I work with people with disabilities, and now knowing that Starfish and Coffee is actually about someone with autism, and I work with a bunch of people who have autism, um, it just gave the song new meaning for me.
Hmm.
And it's like, it hasn't become one, but to me, it's almost like an anthem for people with disabilities. So it's top to bottom. It's a roller coaster ride.
It is.
You get close to the end, and beautiful night just blows you out of the water. And again, in the movie, when he
Mm.
does that song, and they're all over the place, and the lights and the set that he has for that, and then the middle of that, which testament to his genius. He's doing Beautiful Night, and then he breaks into A Train, and then comes out of A Train and goes back to
Right.
Beautiful Night. I was like, okay, yeah, yeah. Again, like, fuck you, you're more talented than anyone ever. So yeah, I get it. Um,
It's like he's not even trying sometimes,
that's just it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like he's not even trying. And
Right.
the best of like the stories you hear from members of his band, because he would just do that. So it wasn't like it was I'm sure some of those things are planned, but a lot of them weren't. It would be Prince would get in the mood for something and just break it down. And they had to know, oh, I guess we're breaking it down now.
Right.
Or,
Right.
or when he'd say something like on the one, it's like everyone stopped on the one, but he would randomly do stuff like that. And
You
you
gotta
had
be
to
on your
be,
toes. Yeah.
yeah, like as
Yeah.
much as we can sit here and talk about how brilliant Prince was, and he was, obviously. But the level of talent that people who played with him had to have. is in stage with Prince, you needed to have chops
Yeah.
because he was going to change things up. He was going to call things out randomly. He was going to change the order of things, and you had to be ready to go. One of the things I remember when his uh Coming to America tour, and he did that concert in Theater in the Round. So the stage was actually his symbol, and there was like 4 offshoots, and it was incredible just to watch the choreography of all of them because every side of the stage got one of them at every given moment.
Mm.
But it was almost unconscious. I mean, they're all like Prince is on one, guitarist, bass, whatever. And then, the minute Prince would like turn around to change where he's going to be, immediately everyone else was turning at the same time. So it was this amazing, like they all have their backs to each other and they all turn at the same time and go to different prongs of the cymbal and then play to that side. And it was just remarkable to see how in tune and tight his band was to follow someone like that. But
Yeah.
that's what you had to do when you're playing with Prince. And to me, there's just Sign of the Times is that album that really just told the world that this man is a force. This man is something special. And just go along for the ride, man.
Yeah.
And to me, like Sign of the Times is like a roller coaster.
It is. Yeah, it was hard for me to choose which one. Obviously, my number one is Purple Rain, but it was hard to choose. Like I said, I didn't really appreciate Sign of Times until I got older. That album is just incredible. That's the one album when I went through the discography that I listened to 5 times.
Hmm.
That's how good it was. It was just, and I'll go back and listen to it again because it still feels fresh in my mind. It's just an incredible album.
You
So
remember when
yeah,
he did Sign of the Times? I think it was on the MTV Music Awards, and it was just him on stage. I think it was him and maybe a dancer on stage with him for like 3/4 of the song, and the whole rest of the band came out down the aisles,
mm,
playing snare drums.
yeah, okay.
And so it got to like to the end of the song, they came out like, and they would do this thing with a stick, like click, 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 and all in unison and all like marching down the aisles. Then they get on stage, they all stand in a line behind Prince, do that thing, click, 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 that thing again, and then they run to their instruments and they bust into Playing the Sunshine.
Wow. Yeah, incredible. Just it's like you said, it's an experience, it's a roller coaster, it's just incredible. Yeah, so my number one obviously is Purple Rain. It just holds a special place in my heart. I would listen to that cassette all the time. And not to bring Elvis back into it, what frustrates us Elvis fans is that Elvis was never in control of his albums. And that's what respect I have so much respect for Prince is that he was in control of everything. If he didn't like what he was doing, he would move on.
Mm.
And this to me might be and we talked about it earlier, the perfectly sequenced album I've ever heard. Like it's just so great the way the songs go into each other and there's some Elvis stuff that you listen to, like, why do they have this song in this way? And it just frustrates you as an Elvis fan. But as a Prince fan, I'm s- I would love to. I want to read more about I'm sure you know more a lot about his fights with the record companies and I just respect him so much for what he did for himself. He wasn't going to bow down to those guys. And but this album is just like I said, I can argue this is the best soundtrack ever.
Mm.
When Doves Cry, Let's Go Crazy. I, I'm not gonna say which song, but my number one song is probably on this album. I think it's maybe one of the greatest vocals I've ever heard in my entire life. I'm sure you can figure out which one it is. I
The beautiful,
absolutely,
beautiful ones.
yeah, yeah. I mean, just incredible. It might be my favorite song that he ever did.
Well, and
Um,
when the way he performs in the movie
Oh
too,
my
it's just
god, incredible, yeah,
and
and the
again,
way
like
Apollonia is looking at him too.
yes,
Yeah,
and we talked a lot today about the whole, have what emotion there's a song for whatever emotion
mhm,
you've been experiencing, and that was one of those songs, and it's interesting because look, he's this 5'3" dude in high heels, um, but as a man, they're like, like, how many men out there at some point in their life has had that moment where they just wanted to scream at a woman,
Yeah.
do you want him or do you want me?
Yeah.
There was that moment for me as a kid. I'm in junior high, I'm finding my way, I'm liking girls, it's like, and God, he just gets up there and screams and points at her, and just yes, I'm feeling that,
Yes. Yeah.
and then the screaming at the end, and it's just ridiculous vocals. But there's that emotion that if you're feeling unrequited love, throw on the beautiful ones, and that will, yes,
Mhm.
there's a song for you there.
But that vocal is just when he's
Yeah.
screaming and just you could hear the hurt in his voice is just oh my god, it's just incredible. And like you said, as a man, when you especially when you're young, a similar thing happened to me when I was 16. I would have that song on repeat
Mm.
all the time because that's the way I was feeling at the time. So it's just incredible. And just the balls to have Darling Nikki on that album. You gotta
Mm.
remember too, like just like this was one of the albums that it was going mainstream, so it wasn't like, he could have kind of dialed back a little bit, and he didn't. And so that Dawn and Nikki song, I remember that was one of the first albums I remember or cassettes I remember having that sticker on it
Mm.
saying parental advisory on it. I
Yeah,
remember
well, it's funny with that because that's one of those songs that people get when people look back and remember the PMRC,
yes,
uh, and they were
sure.
looking at rating records, and there
Yep.
was this big controversy. And Dee Snider was the one that really kind of went after them and taking them on. And I know there was what was it? Ozzy Osbourne had Suicide Solution, which became one of his
Yes,
songs
right.
also because some kid did kill himself, and that was like playing or something like that. But people forget Darling Nikki was the song that kind of started that whole thing.
That's how I remember it. Yeah.
Yeah, that it wasn't. I mean, they went after Twisted Sister, they went after Ozzy, they went after a bunch of different artists, but the song that really kind of kicked it all off was, some woman masturbating with a magazine.
Right.
That was that's what started it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so to me, this is my number one. Obviously, Purple Rain is a masterpiece. I think it was the last song he ever did before he died. I think a week before he died, I read somewhere that it was the last song he ever did.
All right,
Um,
I didn't know. That's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, I read that somewhere, and there's a perform, and obviously I mean, how can you not look at that Super Bowl performance when he does Purple
Hmm.
Rain in the rain?
In the
By the
rain.
way, yeah, yeah. I mean, just like you said, there's Prince up here and everybody else down below when it comes to Super Bowl performances.
Oh yeah, whenever they say like, oh,
Yeah, it's
no, they
Prince and
didn't top
everybody
this.
else. It's
Yeah,
Prince and honorable mentions.
yes.
That's what it is.
And the
So
best, and one of the best stories of that, and there's so many great Prince stories, but there was danger of them shutting it down. It was raining
right.
that hard, and I don't think that came across on TV how hard it was
No,
really.
it did not. No, right.
But it was raining hard. They're worried about uh, the electricity. Prince is on there in high heel boots on that stage. There's definitively a slipping hazard, and they kind of got to a point where, all right, we might have to pull it. Let's go talk to Prince. And whoever had to go to talk to him said, I don't know what you want to do, but it's raining, it's slippery, it might be dangerous out there. What are your thoughts? And Prince looked at him and said, could you make it rain harder? I was like, God damn it. Like,
Yeah.
oh, and then and he goes out there and wails on Purple Rain
I
in the
know.
rain. I mean, and that's one of those things that as much as artists might think that they can get out there on the Super Bowl and come close to doing what Prince did. But outside of his genius, it was Purple Rain
Right.
in the rain.
Can't beat it.
Like God said, yeah, this guy rules. So we're gonna,
Yeah.
you can't, like God was like
Yeah. Unless
his,
the rain came down was purple. That then it would have been perfect. But yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like I said, it's him number one, and then everybody else honorable mentions. It's not even close.
and it is
And I
also one of
like
those
some of his
albums that,
Super Bowl
again, when we
performances,
talk
but
about revisiting stuff,
yeah,
like I revisited Purple Rain, and I've appreciated Computer Blue a
yeah,
lot more than I
sure,
did when the album was out. And the long instrumental in that song is great. And his performance of the
incredible.
song in Purple Rain is great. And again, when you're younger or even older, but you can get blown away by the hits. And we all do it. Everyone, people say, "Oh, we all do it." With the hits, kind of smack us in the face. And Purple Rain has such amazing pop tunes. I have trouble calling them pop because it's so much more than that, but you know, they charted on pop radio, so they're hits. That you kind of get snowballed by that, but when you really dive into the album and listen to the other stuff is great. And
Yeah.
Computer Blue is one of those songs that I don't think I really gave its just due. But when I listened to it again a few times as an adult, I'm like, that's a great
Yeah, it's
tune.
a
That
great
is a
song.
really
Yeah.
great tune.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, to me, Ken, and you can argue me if you want. I thought Sign of the Times and Purple Rain were gonna be the top two. That doesn't matter which order, and everybody else came in between. I just think those two albums are just the definitive Prince to me.
Yeah, I mean it was tough for me because there's so many songs of being such a fan and having different stages of your life.
Yeah.
And it was always Prince was always kind of there for me in certain stages. And even the Gold Experience is one of those songs that
Mm,
all those albums that didn't make my list, but I remember that was around the time that friends of mine kind of caught up with me and they were like, "Hey, Prince is really good."
yeah.
I was like, "It's about time. I've been a lonely Prince fan for,
Well, look
a
at me, Ken.
decade."
I'm 54 years old,
Yeah.
and I'm a Prince fan.
And we would just hang out and listen to Gold. We would listen to Gold Experience, and that
Yeah.
was cool to just have friends where we'd sit around, we'd pop the CD in and just listen to it. And it was neat finally having friends that album has a soft spot for me. I've also, working with people with disabilities. I have an entrepreneurialism program that I help run, and we do launch parties for their different products when they're
Mm,
coming out. And their entrance music has become Gold. It's just got a great beginning, and all that glitters ain't gold is like the perfect sentiment for these amazing humans
tremendous.
fighting the mold and the stereotypes of what's out there. So and that album spot for me. It didn't make my top five, but it was difficult coming up with this list. And we
Oh
threw
yeah.
around this, I think even before the last time I was on the show, we kind of conceptualized the idea. And every so often I would go back and think about it and like, oh, what about this one? What about this one? And again, we could do this show again and I'll come up with, a different top five.
Well, I think we should definitely to have kind of a companion piece. I think we should do hopefully soon is top five Prince songs
Yeah,
and get into
it's gonna be
that.
tough.
I think that'd be make it more difficult for you there, Ken. Yeah. So yeah, I just love it. Like it's funny, like to show my corny side. Being a wrestling fan, I always wanted at the age of 14 to be "Let's Go Crazy" be my entrance song. Like I wanted
Nice.
that the people as a face to be the people that get up, let's go crazy, let's get let's get going, let's get going. So that was always my entrance song as a wrestler was gonna be "Let's Go Crazy," and of course, I just love that song so much. So
It's such a great song. And seeing him live,
oh yeah,
there's some shows that he did open with that, and when you're like in a sea of thousands of Prince fans, and that organ hits,
oh yeah. But you didn't.
there's
The
nothing
thing
better.
is, yeah, you didn't get that though in the radio version of it. That's the
Yeah,
problem. That. So when you heard that for the first time on Purple Rain, you're like, wait a minute, this is not. Is this "Let's Go Crazy"? Like all these
yeah,
shit, like because it went right into the lyrics, and then it didn't.
yeah.
It to me, it took away from what the brilliance of Prince was in that.
And a lot of radio stations cut the guitar solo at the end.
Yes, exactly.
And
Yeah,
every so often
the
I'll
best
hear it on
parts.
the radio and they cut the guitar solo.
Yeah,
And Michelle, who is my significant other, like she gets to hear my wrath because they'll cut the guitar solo and I'm driving. I'm like, fuck you, motherfucker. And she's like, what's wrong? Like, cut the guitar solo.
yeah, exactly.
How do you do that?
So, what's your top five Prince albums? Please comment below. Like I said, hopefully we get some top five Prince songs. Ken, your work for YAI. I know you got some stuff coming up. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, man, it's a busy time of year for me. It's my own fault, but it's busy. Yeah, I work with people with disabilities for an organization called YI. I help develop curriculum there. So a few things going on. If you're in the New York area, I help run also a photography club, which has been really cool to teach people with disabilities photography and
Mm,
let them embrace how they see the world. And we were able to get them their first public exhibit. So their photographs are being exhibited at a coffee shop in Tarrytown, New York called Coffee Lab Roasters.
tremendous.
The exhibit will be up for the month of May. super excited about that. Really proud of our individuals putting together something special like that. And it was pretty cool because we put the exhibit up, and a friend of mine that I've worked for a long time, who's been at YI for 40 years. And I said, "This is pretty cool. When's the last time YI did something like this?" And she looked at me and said, "Yeah, I don't think they have." And I
Mm,
was like, "That's pretty damn cool."
yeah.
So yeah, public exhibit, Coffee Lab Roasters. If you see the photographs and you want to buy one, contact me. We'll come up with a price. Um, we also have a movie coming out.
Yes.
So our multimedia program has a movie. They made a zombie movie, and we're able to negotiate and found a theater that would give it a big screen, uh, one night airing. So June 17th, we'll have their movie up on the big screen for one night, which is really cool. They'll get to see themselves on the big screen. And
I'll be there.
uh,
I'll be there. So
yes,
can't wait.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. And it's going to be a big Hollywood premiere. And the cool thing is we're actually in the process of making a documentary that kind of documented the process of putting this movie together. So the final scene, tentatively, for the documentary will be the Hollywood premiere at the movie theater. So our
Tremendous.
documentarian will be there filming everyone and their reactions. So that should be super cool as well. So we're excited about the stuff we got going on right now. And June 1st, at Central Park is our huge yearly
Yes.
fundraiser called the Central Park Challenge. So come on out to Central Park on the morning of June 1st, and you can see all of us marching. And I think Blue Man Group's going to be there again,
Oh,
and
that's awesome.
performances and different booths and stuff. Fun stuff. It's a really fun day. And you guys can contact Mike or whatever. It's a fundraiser, so if you're interested in donating, I could send you my link and donate to the Central Park Challenge.
Yeah, I'll put all the links down below. So please, guys, look into that. It's
Appreciate it.
tremendous the work he does. Can't wait for the movie premiere. I will
I
be
can't wait
there,
to.
suit on, in the red carpet. Can't wait. Just so happy to be part of it, and I can't wait to see the movie. Ken, my brother, thank you so much. Thank you for teaching me more about Prince. Thank you for educating
Thank
me.
you.
Thank you for not insulting my top five, and I
Mm.
appreciate
There's
uh,
no wrong. There's
yeah,
no
there
wrong
is no
top
wrong.
five.
There really
There's no
isn't.
wrong.
Yeah. So,
You know,
so thank you, my brother.
they're all great. I almost copped out and had ties. Like 3 albums tied for number 5, 3 albums tied to
There you
cop
go.
out. But I appreciate you. Thank you for letting me do
Thank
this.
you very much. Appreciate it, man. Thank you, guys. And always remember, don't worry, be happy.